Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. It is my personal privilege and pleasure to welcome Ms. Parsipur, a very dear old friend. I've had the pleasure of working with her for more than, I think, 30 years since her arrival here. By way of disclosure, I have to say, if I sound like a fan, I am a fan of Blue Logos. When the book first came out in Persian, she kindly asked me to write an introduction to it. And I wrote it, and I thought it is a remarkable work of fiction and a remarkable work of praising the role of woman. Before I ask my first question, I want to also announced something wonderfully auspicious. This last month, one of our colleagues here at Stanford who teaches Persian language finished her dissertation at UCLA. I was part of her doctoral committee. Her dissertation is on Shahrnush Parsipur and a comparison between her fiction and the tropes of her fiction and Sohrawardi. And the argument that she makes is that Shahrnush Parsipur has created a magic realist narrative as much from Iranian tradition as from Western tradition. It is a very interesting argument, and she's made it, and it is a testimony to Ms. Parsipur's remarkable career. Welcome, Sarkar Khanem Parsipur. My first question is essentially trying to place this conversation in the series of other conversations we've had. We've talked to Iranian women activists, scholars, writers, poets, about the emerging Iranian women's movement. You're the first one with whom we're talking who has made her career as a literally member of this movement. How do you see this movement, and how do you see your relationship to this movement?
Hello, everybody. Hello, Dr. Milani. Hello, Roma. It's a very interesting question. I think Iran is in a very special situation. The women there, they haven't the real right for freedom. And so they try hard to find a situation for themselves. And I think in the future, the women of Iran will find a very high degree of freedom because they try hard and they go to prison to find their independence. And so this is the situation.
And in terms of the literally manifestations of this, the manifestation of it in poetry and fiction, who other than yourself do you think is working in this direction that our audience should know about, should read about?
Yeah. And I published my book, Dog and the Long Winter. It was the second novel that a woman has written. The first one was the book of Mrs. Daneshvar, and the second one was mine. But now, I think more than 500 writers try hard to write the books, and they struggle for their independence. And so it's a very special situation. I think Iran has a tumult to find the best situation.
Absolutely. I think, again, for the audience, it might be interesting to know that over the last, I think, decade, the best-selling books, novels, both inside Iran and outside Iran, have been written by Iranian women. If you go to Europe, if you go to America, and if you go to Iran, the books that have sold, the fiction books that have sold the most. And I know your book has been extremely well received in Iran. So could you tell those who don't know about Blue Logos, what the theme of Blue Logos is and how does it fit again in this story of the emerging woman as equal partners, at least equal, if not more important, than men in the making of this future of Iran?
When I wrote, when I was writing Blue Logos, I thought that at last the power of the political power will go to the army, to the people of army. And so I wanted to write a book to show that now it's not possible to make a dictatorship because the people are alive, they know their rights, and they don't accept the power of army. So I write this book. And now I saw that my idea was correct because I read in the somewhere that Sepah Pastaran wanted to make the candidate for presidency. And so this is a divination that I had at that moment.
In Blue Logos, one of the things that happens is not just cautioning the men about their attitudes, but I think also underscoring the need for women's logos, the Blue Logos being essentially a reference to what we would call the feminine view. How would you describe the Blue Logos as different from red logos or other logoses or logi?
I think blue is the color of the woman. Mm-hmm. And Mary, the mother of Christ, is always in a blue chador. It means the sky. Mm-hmm. Because in some part of the world, like India or Egypt, the woman concept of the world was in the sky, and the men were in the earth. So blue is a feminine color. And I found it by fire. When you have the fire in front of you, you see the different color. In the center of the fire, you find a black spot. That is the void. It's very cold, this black spot. Can I speak Farsi?
Sure.
من ایده رنگ آبی رو از شعله آتش گرفتم. در مرکز آتش نقطه تاریک هست که خالیه و اگه شما سر یک کبریت رو اونجا بذارید روشن نمیشه، خاموش میمونه. بعد دورش زرده و بعد بالاترش قرمزه و در آخرین جای آتش، در پایین ترین جا، یه قسمت آبیه. ولی شما با آسمان هم که نگاه میکنید آبیه. آبی آسمان و از زمین میاد یه شعله واژگونه‌ای به طرف زمین میاد. من از این ایده استفاده کردم.
I took the idea for Blue Logos, blue, essentially from looking at a flame. When you look at the flame, at the center of it, you see a void. And there is no It's a dark void. Then there is a layer of yellow. Above it is a layer of red. And then at the highest or lowest point, you see the blue. And if you look at the sky, it too it is blue. It is as if the sky is the end of a fire that is looking downward at the earth. That was my idea in choosing a blue. And of course, blue is, as you said, as she said, is also the color of Christ. It's also in many other mythologies the color of a woman. So one of the things that is remarkable, I think, about Blue Logos as a novel is how rich it is in archetypal, what we would call archetypal references. You might not have consciously attempted to make all of these things, but one reads it, it is so interwoven with so many mythological histories. What kind of readings were you doing before you wrote this book? Were you before you wrote Blue Logos? Are there books that you think influenced you most in shaping the narrative, other than The Fire?
No, I am under influence of Chinese philosophy, and I always use the term of this concept in my idea, in my books, especially in Blue Logos. I wanted to show that femininity of the world is something for itself, because in Iran, they have hidden the femininity of the world. But in Chinese concept, you find it below, between the men, women, and the children. So it's very clear, perhaps in Iran, old Iran, in ancient Iran, we had this concept. Mm-hmm. But after Islam, we have found that she's a hidden power. So I wanted to show it.
To bring it out.
Yes.
You know, one of the, because we're talking about feminism and literature and feminism and art, one of the discussions that has been long going on is whether there is something called a feminine vision that is very different than a man's vision. In other words, if a woman writes or if a woman makes a film, is there something that defines that as very different than men? Or are they part of the same continuum? Some feminists have argued that there is a continuum. Some have argued that, no, there is a difference point of view. There's a difference. And I think in your book, one gets the sense that you think there is a difference, but there needs to be a reconciliation. And salvation will come only if we have both of these voices together. Am I right in understanding your view?
I'm not sure if there is a difference between feminine concept and masculine concept. I think both of them, they try to explain the situation. Mm-hmm. Naturally, the men write more about the men, and the women write more about the women, because it's natural, because they live with their situation in the society. So the women, also like the men, write, but more about the women.
Mm-hmm. You know, one of the most remarkable lectures of yours that I attended was many, many years ago. I don't know whether you remember it or not. It was at Berkeley. He gave a talk. I think that might have been the origin of your book, Asieh. And you gave a talk about a woman who is sitting on a stone, on a big rock, not a stone, is facing a desert, and behind her are mountains. And you said, a woman in Iran today are faced with this dilemma. They're trying to make sense out of this world, a world where in front of them is this desert, in the back of them is this mountain, and they're standing there essentially alone. This was an image of you. You were the Asieh who was standing to make. Do you think women of Iran have now begun to find their way out of this? Or are they still standing there alone, looking for a way out?
Now the women understand that they must work with each other. They want to help each other. They need also the help of the men because naturally they live with each other. So the women are not alone now. They walk.
They walk. They're not sitting there anymore.
Yeah. And they go to prison. They go to everywhere to find their independence.
Again, for those who haven't read the book, I really urge you to read it. And I have to say, Professor Ghanoonparvar is one of the more prolific translators. He's translated many, many of the most important books. We're going to have him in a conference in a couple of weeks at Stanford because he also translated some of Mescoub's work. So once you read this, you get a sense of the richness of Ms. Parsipur's vision, because you're as likely to hear about a character from Greek mythology as a character from Sohrawardi. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the mythical figures, for those who haven't read it, that come into your play, in this novel, Blue Logos, and help create this coming together of the feminine and the masculine? Is my question at all clear?
Yes. I use several types of archetypal figurative. I read the book of Sohrawardi, read Logos, and it was very important for me because it was the relation between a human being and Satan. And so it shows something like this in his book. And he used astrology. He explained astrology in this book. So I used astrology also. The concept of astrology is something dialectical. And I use it a lot to make this book, but in the form of blue logos. I think it was like this.
But you also use some figures from Greek mythology.
Yes, but not very. What is the main idea of this Greek mythology?
The centaur, for example, who becomes very important at one point as the embodiment of these two figures.
Yes, I use it.
Yeah. I don't know whether you have read Dr. Shervine Emami's dissertation. I don't know whether she has shared with you the last iteration of her thesis, but she has found some really remarkable structural similarities between red logos, Sohrawardi's, and your blue logos. Some structural parallels that are really fascinating. I don't think you made it that way, but it has come out that way. It's a very interesting structure. Have you read it? I know you. Yeah, I know you kindly talked to her several times and helped with the dissertation.
How I can find this article?
It's a dissertation, and I'm sure Dr. Emami will be glad to send it to you. I will ask her to send it to you. And of course, she has the decision to, but I think you can access it also. It's going to be submitted. It's usually dissertations are matter of public record, and it's a dissertation she finished at UCLA, I would have certainly invited her to be part of this conversation, but she's on leave this quarter. And if she wasn't on leave, we would have asked her to come and participate, help in this conversation. What is in your horizon in terms of writing? Are you working on a novel now, or are you just writing essays and short stories? I know you're very prolific.
Unfortunately, I am empty. It's 3 years that I never wrote anything. I cannot read. I cannot write. I don't know why I'm so like this, but there is nothing in my mind to write. But I look a lot of serial. I look to the other work of the people, but personally, I am empty.
You're never empty. First of all, you're always full and effervescent. And even when you're empty, there is more in your emptiness than there is in a lot of us who are full. So don't ever think we don't know and don't appreciate how brilliantly effervescent you have been. I want to, if you don't mind, her prison memoirs, Ms. Parsipur's prison memoirs are really remarkable for not just the amount of hardship she has suffered. It's one of the most brutally honest prison memoirs. I translated a very small part of it many years ago. Then somebody fortunately translated the entire part. And if you read that, and if you read the almost 5 years that she was there, and if you read about how defiant she was in the face of this brutality, you understand what that regime has done and how we are lucky that even after all of that, she has continued to write a rather remarkable collection of essays and fiction and reviews. Roma talked about the many reviews she has written. She has written many reviews, and her dedication to write and her dedication to her craft, the classes that I know she has taught for people, all at least forces me to say, as someone who loves the language and loves literature, how grateful we are to you for continuing your efforts. I really, truly mean this.
Thank you.
But I have to ask you, what serial are you watching?
The Turkish serial,
Turkish
the
serial.
Arabic serial, the
Yeah.
Indian serial, because yes, they are very interesting.
I think this is your effort to stay in tune with Iran, because from what I hear from Iran, everybody in Iran is also watching these serials. These are
Yes.
very popular in Iran, particularly Turkish. Turkish serials are now said to be very popular around.
Because in Turkish serial, you see an Iran of the epoch of Shah. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The people are alike.
Yes. Turkey today is what Iran would have been like if Iran didn't have the Islamic revolution.
Yes.
Right? That's and it's your desire to be in your. Were you involved in the process of translation of Blue Logos? Have you compared it with the original at all?
Mr. Ghanoonparvar translated this book. I didn't know. And then he contacted me and told me that he has translated the book. He sent it for me and I read it. It was very interesting. I spoke with an American friend to edit the book, but Mr. Ghanoonparvar didn't accept. And he told, I want to print my book like this. So I was in contact with him.
Yeah, well, you know, he's a very reputable translator and he's an academician. He understands what it's. I haven't compared it. I've begun to read it, and it reads well. Are you happy with the other translations of your work?
My English is not well enough to understand if they are good or bad. I cannot know it. But I had a good translator.
Mm-hmm.
The translator of Kissing the Sword is very expert in her job. And so I think it's a good translation.
And I think the translator of Touba, because Touba was translated at least twice, and I did read the translation that is now available. And that translation, I think, makes a very, very good effort to be true to the text.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
It's a very good translation.
And again, for those who haven't read and want to get a sense of the plight of women in Iran, Touba and the Meaning of the Night is really a remarkable work. It is one of the best-selling novels in Iran. It's been often written about, and it goes into a kind of through a family, offers a history of the last 100 years of Iran through the prism of a woman. It is a remarkably both engrossing narrative, but also rich narrative. And the work of Shirin Neshat in that installation, again, I think that's available online. You can go watch it and you see what an impact that part of that, one image of that book has had in a great artist like Shirin Neshat. I think you would agree, right? You like that installation that Shirin Neshat has made?
Pardon?
You like that installation that one short film she made? Yeah.
Yeah, it was in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I couldn't go there. Sorry. I like to see it, but unfortunately, I miss it.
Oh, well, okay.
Did you see it?
Yes, I have seen it.
You went to Los Angeles?
I saw the film version of it, and I did go to Los Angeles. Yes, and it was stunning. It was really stunning because sort of you literally get pulled into. Again, you have to read the book, and you have to see how the woman becomes sort of the tree of life in Iran, the tree of history in Iran. And the way she had the installation, you literally, once you enter that room, you become engrossed in it. It's one of her most, I think, successful installations that I have ever seen.
Okay.
And again, we also had one program, past program, Ms. Parsipur, that participated in a panel discussion about her film version of her book about Woman Without Men.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Shirin Neshat made. And I think Goli Taraqi was in that panel as well. It was a very interesting panel. And I think...
yes, of course.
Yeah, if you go back to that, I have overstayed my time. I think we have some maybe questions from the audience. Let's see if Roma has questions that she wants to ask, and then hopefully I can maybe ask a couple of other questions at the end.
Thank you. That sounds good. We do have a few questions. One viewer asks, can you describe Sadegh Hedayat's influence, if any, on your writings?
Yes, of course. Under influence of Sadegh Hedayat, and especially in his book, Blind Old. I don't know if you read this book. It's a small book, but it's very interesting. And the literature of Iran is based on this book. And I am under influence of him.
If I may add, clearly, for those who have read Blue Logos, And I think even Touba and the Meaning of the Night, although she has been influenced by the form of the blind owl, Sadeh Hedayat's blind owl, but she has inversed the relationship, because in blind owl, woman is essentially a victim. A woman is either, a priestly character or a prostitute, or she is an image on a pen holder. But in your narrative, you've taken that woman out of her essential imprisonment and liberated her. I mean, my understanding is, please correct me if I'm wrong, that you're influenced by the style, but you have inversed the man-woman relationship, this attitude, this very unfortunate attitude Hedayat had to woman. You completely changed that. Am I right in that?
Yes. Blue Logos is the analysis of blind oil. And it's very clear, because if the people read the blind oil in Blue Logos, they will find it and they understand what is the real relation between these two books.
Yes. They say Marx took Hegel and made it upside down. You took Sadeh Hedayat and made it upside down. Really, Sadeh Hedayat was a male view of this relationship. You took that relationship, turned it around, and looked at it from a woman's perspective, I think.
Yes.
Thank you. Another viewer asks, what is the connection between Red Logos, a story by Sohrabadi, and Blue Logos?
Red Logos is a book about astrology, but in a very special form. It means Satan meets with a man, meets with Sohrabadi, and he explains the situation of the sky. My book also is in the same way. I use also this astrology, but in the form of Blue Logos. Perhaps the woman of the Blue Logos is a type of Satan, like his book.
Thank you. Dr. Milani, did you want to comment?
No, I'll comment later. Yes, I do want to say something about. I think both of them. What connects them both, I think, is that both Blue Logos and Red Logos are forms of what we would call, in terms of the history of ideas, a form of Gnosticism. In other words, trying to find the divine, whether it's through astrology, whether it's through theology, whether it's through philosophy, psychology, contemplation, in yourself. And Sohrabadi finds it in a kind of what philosophers call the illuminationist school of philosophy. The light is inside you. And in Miss Parsipur, the light that is inside her is as much the Blue Logos, the feminine voice, as much as a kind of a changed male logos. The male logos that is for domination, the male logos that wants to dominate the other side, silence the other side, or as in the case of Hedayat, decimate the other side, take it, chop her up, is this time a logos that says we can only live peacefully if we are together. It is really a remarkable Gnosticism, because there is a tradition that says, if you read the Gospels, Gnostic Gospels, one of the things they say about the Gnostic Gospels, Len Pagel's book, it says Gnostic Gospels are essentially about logos being feminine. For Shahrnush Parsipur, logos that is liberating must be both feminine and masculine. Please correct me, Ghanoonparvar Parsipur, if I'm wrong.
You are right.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Thank you. I want to read a comment and a question from a viewer. They write, I want to thank everyone involved in this event, especially for making it available online. I have never been so moved by a webinar. As a fan of Ms. Parsipur's literature, as well as the writings of Dr. Milani, this has been wonderful to watch. And they ask, what urged Ms. Parsipur to write this book from a transnational perspective and deliberately merge symbolic images and mythologies in the world building?
Okay, I asked Dr. Milani to translate this question for me.
خیلی تشکر کردم.
فهمیدم.
اونو فهمیدم. میگه که چه چیز باعث شد که شما در تعیین این روایت و در تشکیل این روایت از مفاهیم و نمادهای فراملیتی استفاده بکنید و در واقع یک ترکیب جهانی از اسطوره و نماد و اینها استفاده بکنید برای اینکه این روایتتون رو شکل بدید.
Okay. We live in the world, and world now is very small, a village. Naturally, when you live in Iran, you live in the United States because you see always the American serial, the American film, the American literature, or the Russian poetry, or the French philosophy. Naturally, when you are in this world, you made your book for the world. And because of this, Blue Logos is a book for world, not for only Iran.
And when it's translated in English, and maybe hopefully, has it been translated into any other language, do you know?
No.
I have to say that it is because I've read it very carefully when Persian came out to write the introduction. It's like Persian poetry. It's a very difficult book to translate because when language is so deeply full of symbols and references and nuances, translating it in a way is like translating the difficulty of translating poetry. I think it's very difficult to translate some of your work precisely because it has so many nuances of language.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, many times it is prose poetry, and those are very difficult to translate. And I think that might be one of the reasons that some of these works haven't been translated. I think it's not by accident that, for example, the two forms of Iranian art that have become much more global than poetry, for example, or fiction, or even music, is cinema and painting, and to some extent photography. These have a universal language, and you don't need to worry about translating them. But a fiction like yours, translating Woman Without Men or Touba or Blue Logos, all of these take a lot of effort, and there's so many inter-references. They're so rich in their global semiotics that it takes a very careful translator to do justice to it. But I hope they will do justice in other languages.
Thank you. Another viewer writes, you mentioned not being able to read or write recently and feeling empty inside. They ask, do you think that emptiness might be the effect of living far from the motherland?
Perhaps. I haven't a lot of contact with American society. I am always at home. And from the moment that I came to the United States, I was always between the Iranians. I read the Iranian books. I wrote my books in Persian. I never go to the college. I never tried to study English because I was sick and I hadn't a good health to contact the society. So I am in the United States. But in reality, I am in Iran. And because I am not in Iran, I cannot touch the society. So little by little, I become empty. It's long time, 3-4 years, that I never wrote anything. And I'm very sorry. Last night I had a dream about Shah of Iran. He was alive and he wanted to write his biography, but we must help him to write it. And it was the first time in these years that I had a clear dream. Even in my dream, I am empty. I don't see anything really.
Well, I think one of the most remarkable things about Miss Parsipur in her fiction and in her essays, even in some of her video messages, is a searing honesty. There's an honesty in her work. There's an honesty in her fiction. There's an honesty in her description of herself that is truly remarkable. The Iranian intellectual tradition has been very much shaped by the idea that intellectuals must act this way, they must act this way, they must not show frailties, they must not talk about if they have a writer's block. I know for a fact that you wrote Blue Logos in a few weeks, if I remember correctly. There was a explosion of creativity. And these, writer's blocks, they come and they go. And someone like you, who is constantly thinking about the world, the Asieh in you, will one day explode, maybe tonight, after trying to help. Maybe you'll start writing a biography of the Shah tonight. Help him tonight with your dream. So we all are looking forward for the end of your writer's block. And I have to also say that I don't think there are too many writers in exile, Iranian writers in exile, who have been as prolific as you have. If you add the number of articles you have written, the number of novels, the number of lectures. I had the good fortune of going with you to Brown when there was a seminar. I saw your presentation there. And these, if you add them together, the opus of your work in exile is simply remarkable. I know right now you're not writing, but you've written enough in the last 20 years for several lifetimes. We hope you write several more lifetimes, but we are very grateful for all you have done and all you have written. And as an Iranian, I am profoundly ashamed for what this regime did to you in prison, and surviving that, what it did to your mother, surviving all of that, and coming out of that and still writing and still continuing to write. I'm just humbled to be in your presence. I truly mean that.
Yes, Dr. Milani, I worked a lot. I really worked a lot. But unfortunately now, I'm empty. I don't do anything. And even it's very strange. I read the book, I read the books, and I forget them proudly. Yesterday I finished the book, and then I closed it and I thought, what I have read. I didn't remember anything. Perhaps I'm in front of Alzheimer. I'm not sure.
Or perhaps the book was not memorable. Maybe the book wasn't the book.
Perhaps.
Sorry, Rama, do you have another?
Sure. There are a few questions. One is if you feel comfortable, if you would like to say a few more words about why you were imprisoned in Iran. And then another question is if you're considering writing an autobiography.
First, the second question. I have written a biography, and the name is Report of Life. You can find Persian version in my website. You can buy it from there. And second, I was in prison because of some journals in the car of my mother. That they confiscated it, and they brought my mother to prison, and then they came to our home, and they imprisoned my brothers and me. And because of these journals, we spent in prison. Whereas my brother had done nothing. He didn't know anything about the journals, but they kept it for 1 year. And another brother who accepted that the journals is his journal, he spent 2 years, 2 years and a half. My mother spent 3 years in the prison, and I spent 4 years and 7 months. All of this is in my book, Prison Memoir. In English, Kissing the Sword. I want to tell you that Kissing the Sword, the brief version is Kissing the Sword. But all the book is in the website of Feminist Press.
Let me say one word before you ask the next question about these present memoirs. When Ms. Parsipur first came, with the help of Ms. Allende, we organized a meeting to celebrate her work. And after that, Ms. Allende talked about her, Ms. Parsipur talked to Allende about her prison memoir. And she said, you know, you should write this. And, you know, she comes from Chile. She's seen her uncle, I think, get killed by the Pinochet government. And when she read parts of this memoir, she said, this is one of the most moving prison memoirs I've ever seen. It brings tears to every eye. I remember in a meeting that Ms. Allende was, when she talked, Parsipur talked about some of the things that have happened to her, Allende wept essentially, said, I've never seen anything so moving, something so brutal happened to her. And one of the reasons I need to tell people, one of the reasons Ms. Parsipur stayed for longer than everybody, she was in a car that was moving some leftist magazines out of their house. They were by accident stopped. She served more than everybody else. The brother, the mother who was driving the car, because she stood, first of all, she said, I won't leave if you don't release my mother. They wanted to release the mother, if I'm right? I remember it correctly.
Not really. I wasn't in the car. My mother was alone.
In prison.
Prison, yeah.
In prison, they wanted to release you, and you said, no, if you don't release my mother, I won't go.
Yes.
If she hadn't done this, she would have been, because she was already a very accomplished writer. They wanted to let her go, but the injustice of it, she said, no, I'm not going to go, and ended up being in prison for 4 years. Ended up spending time in a grave-like place where she was immobile. I mean, you have to read that memoir to see what this regime has done to one of the best, brightest writers of our time. It is their shame, and it is my honor, and I think all of our honor, to be in your presence now. I truly mean this, Shahrnush Parsipur.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
I want to add a few comments that viewers have left, thanking Ms. Parsipur for her honesty and openness. And I want to read a comment and a question by a viewer. They write, thank you so much, Ms. Parsipur, for her talk, and Dr. Milani for his insights. I am deeply moved by Ms. Parsipur's unwavering commitment to write about what she truly believes in, a sentiment I seek to embody more often in my own life. Ms. Parsipur is a true inspiration. My question for her is, What is your advice for young writers who seek to write on topics normally left untouched or too controversial in society, like you did? Thank you so much for a wonderful talk.
I answer in Persian. من فکر میکنم یه نویسنده جوان بایستی قبل از هر کاری صادق باشه، آنست باشه با خودش و با جهان. این نخستین اصلی است که یه نفر رو نویسنده میکنه و بعد شجاعت داشته باشه، نترسه. ترس نویسندگی رو میکشه، ترس نویسنده رو میکشه. باید شجاع باشه و بنویسه.
She says, I think young writers must be honest. They must be honest with themselves. They must be honest with the world. That is the first principle of becoming a writer. The second one is valor. You must not have fear. Fear kills the writer. Fear kills writing. You must be valiant and you must write. I think that's a very good place to end this discussion because our time is up. It's a good place to end because we are here to celebrate the life of a woman who has spent a whole lifetime fearless, a whole lifetime of writing the truth. And for her travails, our lives have been enriched and our understanding of despotism and our understanding of heroism has been enriched. So thank you for participating. Thank you for being who you are. Please continue being so that we can enjoy the fruits of your wonderful, always full brain.
Thank you very much. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. I want to read one last short comment from a viewer before we sign off. A viewer writes, please tell Ms. Parsipur that although my parents gave me life, she is one of the few people who has given meaning to my life. So,
thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And this conversation was recorded, so we'll share it online shortly. Have a good day.